The first knot is the Prusik. The first thing you'll have to do is make a bite. A bite is just a bend in the rope. You want to make sure that this bite for the Prusik is in the approximate center of the rope. You'll pass the bite over what you're tying the Prusik on, usually another rope, but we're using a broom handle here. Pass through once, all the rope, go around, pass through a second time, all of the rope, pull it tight, make sure it stacks up neatly, and that is a Prusik. The next knot is a round turn and 2 half hitches. For this knot, you'll be using the end of the rope. You're usually tying it around something. The round turn, you go all the way around twice. So this is once, second time around, and then your hitches, you'll go over the main line, take the bitter end over the standing end and through, and then over and through a second time. Round turn, 2 half hitches. The next knot is the bowline. For the bowline, we'll be using the end of the line. That's why it's called an end of line bowline. The first thing we'll need to do is make a bite, and the way we make the bite is very important. I'm going to drape the rope over your left hand, grab it with your right hand, and turn clockwise. So drape the rope over your left hand, grab with your right hand, and turn clockwise. This will form a hole and a tree. It's important to make that bite the correct way because the tree should be behind the hole. This is the rabbit. The rabbit comes up out of the hole, runs around the tree, and goes back down in the hole. We'll grab both parts of the rabbit and the tree, cinch it tight. Now, one of the checkpoints of this, to be sure you're right, is that the rabbit ends up in the middle of the loop that you created. If the rabbit goes around the tree the incorrect way, he'll end up on the outside of the loop. That is incorrect. This is a bowline. You also may be asked to tie a bowline around something. If you're doing that, you'll take the line, you'll do the same thing, put the rope across your left hand, turn with your right clockwise, but now you'll go around the object that the rope needs to be around first with the rabbit, and then out of the hole, around the tree toward you, back through the hole, and then cinch it down tight. Checkpoint is that the rabbit is in the center of the loop you made, and the loop is around what you were supposed to tie it on. End of line bowline.
Yep.
The next knot is a butterfly knot. Usually you tie a butterfly somewhere in a line. Today we're just going to do it in the center. The first step is to lay the line across your left hand. And then next we take our right hand and we turn a loop clockwise and pass it over our fingers, our 2 fingers. Third step is to do another loop in the same direction clockwise and then pull that loop back over to the palm of your hand. Finally, the last step is to take this loop and pass it under the X. So we'll go under the X and then cinch the loop out tight. The checkpoint for the butterfly knot is that we have a loop passing under an X. Butterfly knot. The next knot is the wireman's knot. Usually a wireman's knot, like the butterfly knot, is tied along a knot. Today we're going to tie it in the center. Put the knot over our, put the rope over our hand, and we're going to make 3 passes or 2 loops. So 2, 3. We have 2 loops, but 3 passes here. And now we braid these 3 passes. We braid them like this. We take the center and pull it over the left. We take the new center, pull it over the right, and then we take the new center and pull it back over the left. I'll do that again. We have 3 passes. We'll take the center, pull it over the left, the new center, pull it over the right, then the new center and pull it over the left again. Finally, we'll grab our new center and cinch it out. Wireman's knot. We know that it's correct when we have a loop passing under one line, and it can be untied by pulling these 2 loops out. Wireman's knot.
Ready.
The next knot is the square knot. The square knot is easy to remember because we do it as we march. We step off on our left foot first, so we'll usually start with our left side first. So with the square knot, you simply take left over right and around, and then the opposite, right over left and around. You know that the square knot is correct when the 2 loops intersect with each other, and you can move them like this. The square knot. The next knot is a granny knot. A granny knot is often considered an incorrect square knot. So what we'll do with the granny knot is we'll take left first over right and around, but then we'll do the same thing again and go left over right and around a second time. We cinch this tight and we see that the knots want to oppose each other rather than fitting together nicely. Granny knot. The next knot is a figure 8 knot. With a figure 8 knot, we want to take our rope, make a bend. After we make this is a bend. After we make a bend, we pass the rope completely around, forming a loop, and now we pass the bitter end back through the loop. Cinch it tight. The check point of a figure 8 knot is that it makes a figure 8. Figure 8 knot. The next knot is a sheep bend. Now there are 2 ways to tie a sheep bend. A sheep bend is used to join 2 ropes together, but usually when the ropes are different sizes. Today we're using 2 ropes of the same size. One way to tie a sheep bend is to first make a bend in the rope. After you make a bend with one rope, you take the bitter end of the other rope, pass it under the bend, over one side of the bend, underneath both bends, and then back underneath itself. Once you do that, you cinch it tight, and you have a sheep bend. The other way to tie a sheep bend, if you'll notice this, all it is a bowline with 2 ropes. So we can just tie a bowline with 2 ropes. So the second way to tie a sheep bend is just like we did before. With one of the ropes, we'll lay it over a hand, turn it clockwise, making a loop in a tree that's under the loop. Then we'll take our other bitter end, which is our rabbit, come up out of the hole, run around the tree, and back down into the hole. We'll cinch that tight, and then we have a sheep bend tied the other way. The next knot is the fisherman's knot. The fisherman's knot is used to attach 2 ropes together. The first thing we need to know to tie a fisherman's knot is to tie an overhand knot. An overhand knot is just a simple knot, the first knot you tie when you tie your shoes together. You'll make a loop and pass the end through the loop. That's an overhand knot. Once you've created one overhand knot, you'll take the other rope that you're attaching and pass it through this overhand knot. And now the hard part. You have to do another overhand knot with this bitter end, but you'll do it around this standing end or this other rope. So we'll make a loop and then pass our bitter end through the loop, creating another overhand knot. Finally, you'll cinch the knot together, and you'll notice that both of the bitter ends are laying parallel to the standing ends of the rope. That's the checkpoint for this. If they're sticking off to the side, it's incorrect. The bitter end should be laying with the standing end of the rope. Fisherman's knot.